Alright guys, it's Charlie Tango 1994 back with another YouTube video. It's been 3 months now since the start of lockdown, and in that time we've moved from spring to summer and the days have grown longer and the weather has got warmer. I was looking forward to this summer as I was hoping to get back out on some good DX trips, but like everyone, my summer plans have been completely dashed by the coronavirus. The good news is that the lockdown has now been lessened, which means it's permitted now to venture out further afield as long as you maintain your social distancing, and I'm itching to get out and enjoy the summer and try a bit of radio. Add to that the fact that the bands have been pretty active over the last few months, most likely from the coronavirus, but I'm looking to get up to some high ground and see what signals I can get in from one of my DX spots. I'm still having some issues with my eyesight, so I haven't felt comfortable driving a car until after my next eye operation. So I've been thinking about how I could still get out with my radio bag. The best choice for that is to look at my Vespa to get me there and back. This time of year it's the ideal riding weather, and the idea of heading out on the scoot for a bit of radio sounds like a great idea to me at the moment. It's been off the road for about a year because of the problems with my eyes, but I feel okay on the scooter, especially as the roads are a lot quieter because of lockdown. So I got the MOT sorted on it last week and I've just taken it off Sawn. I've been into classic scooters since the mod revival of the late 1970s and have owned a range of different Vespas and Lambrettas since I was a teenager. This is my PX150 and normally I use it every day to travel to work and back, especially during the summer. I used to do a lot of the scooter rallies right up until the 90s and still occasionally attend scootering events when I can, as well as going camping on scooters most of my adult life. So for a while I've been thinking about how I could install a CB radio on the scooter, and since this is the best way to get out and about at the moment, I pulled together the bits I might need to rig it up on the scoot and see if it could work as a mobile station up on a hill. The scooter has a rear carrier on the back, so this really is the only place where you could mount an antenna. So I ordered a wing mirror mount to see if it would happily bolt to the rear carrier. It came with the coax already connected and seems to be well fitted and well insulated. It looks like good quality and comes with a standard 5/8 connection, so will take most mobile antennas. It mounts to a wing mirror arm by a D-clamp, so this should easily fit onto the rear carrier on the scooter. So the bits I'm going to need when going out DXing on the scooter will include the aerial mount we just saw, my car jumper battery to power the radio. I pulled out the SWR meter just for today to test each of the aerials I might try out on the scooter over the summer. And obviously I'll need to take a radio with me. For most of the trips I might take this year, I probably will take the Anytone, as I like to try out a bit of sideband, and one of the things I'd like to do is get on the 305 net one of these days. I've struggled to get any signals in from home on the 305, so I thought I'd like to head out a little bit further north to a spot near St Albans and see what I can hear from round there. If I can get the CB running well on the scooter, then I can more easily get into spots that possibly you couldn't get into in a car. In terms of antennas, I've got a few aerials that I could use, including a modulator and a 5-foot fire stick. While I'm looking at stuff today, I'm going to look at my kite pole and see if that can easily fit on the carrier, and if it will erect properly if strapped to the rear carrier. So I took the aerial mount out to the scooter and fitted it onto the rear carrier. It went on very easily, and where I've got it mounted, it isn't at all intrusive. Managing the coax cable when I'm not using it is as easy as tucking it under the seat when it isn't needed. So with the antenna mount fitted, it's time to see where we can put the radio kit and test the antennas. I'm only looking to use the radio when static and not when I'm riding, but even the Anytone will sit comfortably in the glove box when in use, and it powered on from the battery pack in the glove box as I hoped, so it was time to start connecting an aerial. I rigged up the SWR meter on the glove box door and connected the first antenna. The first one I wanted to try is a very small whip aerial. This would be a great size if I was planning to fit a CB radio to the Vespa full time, but that's not something I've got planned at the moment, but this aerial really doesn't get in the way. The only issue with it is that because it's short, I always find it tricky to SWR in very well. The thing I am most concerned about with mounting an aerial to the scooter is the grounding on the body, so I was very interested to see what SWR I was getting. I was shocked but not surprised to get a reading of over 3 from the SWR meter. I could have spent some time adjusting the antenna, but as I had 2 other aerials to try, I dashed the idea of trying the shorter one and moved on to the Fire Stick. Setting up the Fire Stick was easy, and this time I got an SWR reading on it of 1.3, much better than the previous antenna. I was a bit concerned that the scooter may not be able to offer good enough grounding, but since there are metal screws connecting the rear carrier to the back of the scooter, this was enough to get a decent SWR. Without making any adjustments to the Fire Stick, it was giving a good enough SWR, but if I ever use it properly, I'd probably fine-tune it a bit. I wanted to have a look at the Fire Stick mounted on the scooter, as I'm not sure if I could get away with riding with it fitted. It is very long and stands out quite a bit. Not that it's that unusual to see long whip antennas on old mod scooters. In fact, 50 years ago it was all the rage. I'd like to be able to ride it with it installed, simply because it's hard to carry otherwise. The key would be how it stands up to vibration and how it holds up against the wind, so I might consider adding a spring at the bottom to help with that. The last antenna I wanted to test out was the 22-inch whip antenna known as a modulator. Because you can remove the whip from the coil, it's easier to leave the base of the antenna fixed and just attach the whip when you want to use the radio. It is pretty long and, how would you say, quite whippy, so actually it would be fine to ride with in place. Certainly that would make it easier when travelling to a distant DX location. Testing it for SWR again without making any adjustments, the SWR was incredibly low, moving the needle just a hair. Surely the mark of a good antenna for CB radio. So having tested the aerials and happy they would work, I can set the radio up on the door of the glove box like this, pull out my folding chair and set up the station anywhere, just sitting next to the scooter. While I was at it, I thought I'd try out the kite pole and see how that works out if I strap it to the rear carrier to use a T2LT when running static mobile. It looks pretty big strapped to the back of the scoot. Because the kite pole is pretty long, even when collapsed, I wanted to check if I could carry it on the rear carrier without it causing issues, and threw my radio bag on the rear carrier also to check if it would fit on okay, and it looks fine. If needed, the radio can be stashed in the glove box if you remove the mic. I wouldn't drive with it in the glove box unless it was properly wrapped in a towel or something, as it could easily get knocked about whilst in transit, but it could just as easily go in the radio bag itself, although because of its size I wouldn't want to be carrying it on my back. So it looks like the scooter will be a good little DX machine during the summer at least. Everything can fit on, and now it's just a case of heading out and setting the radio up when I get where I'm going, and see what contacts I can get this summer. I've got a few sites I'd like to get out to in the next couple of weeks, so watch out for my future videos, and I'll see you then. 73s.